Well, good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. My name is Adam Ortiz. I'm the administrator for EPA's Mid-Atlantic region. Thank you, Senator. It's great to see you, and a lot to celebrate, a lot to applaud today. But really, what we're talking about today is what we all do every day, is that we work together on team environment to make a difference. And that we all have a role at the federal level, working with members of Congress. It's to enforce the laws, get the grants out the door to the people and the places that are doing the work, because that's where the wisdom is, the folks who are on the ground in communities, urban, rural, and everywhere in between to get the work done. And we had a tremendous accomplishment already today, working in an interagency fashion, which isn't always easy, and working with NGOs and across sectors. We're able to provide a real-time demonstration of stormwater management by making it rain today. So thank you for everybody who had a role in that. It's hard to pull off, a lot of important people in the room, but success. But I say that half joking, but also not joking, because this is such a tremendous facility. I want to thank Arlington County for just your leadership on so many different things. And for hosting us here today. And this building was not chosen by accident. It was very deliberate. This is a LEED Gold facility that was completed 4 years ago. It features a variety of sustainability practices, such as green roofs, solar cells, and this large rain garden right behind us. It's a tremendous work of landscape architecture as well as architecture. And it's a beautiful space where you can do a lot of things. And we have a lot of speakers today, so at any point you're feeling a little tense, there is a yoga class down the hall. Yoga pants are optional, but a lot of stuff happens here. So please get to see the facility when we're done and walking around. Before we get into the speakers, I just wanted to say how important work like this is and grants like this are, and the historic announcements that we have today and how much it matters. I just got in from late last night in central Pennsylvania, which, as we know, is upriver in the Chesapeake Bay watershed. Big state, lots of farms, almost 40,000 small farms in the Chesapeake Bay watershed in Pennsylvania. So engagement with agriculture has been really important. I walked around with a number of farms that have a variety of practices, from riparian buffers to BMPs to manure manage, and farmers are trying to do the right thing. And community groups, and we met with the Clearwater Conservancy, which is based in Center County, working really hard. But it was important for us to show up because, we might have some dollars to bring to the table, but they're the ones that execute. They know the farmers, they know how to get it done, and they're getting it done. And then later this week, I'll be with some of our team in a very different part of the region, in Port Richmond, not Richmond, Senator Kane, Port Richmond, Philadelphia, which is an frontline environmental justice community, where we're also investing. So from the most rural to the most urban, we have to work together on team environment to make sure that we're controlling runoff. And we have some stuff to do here at the federal level, but we can only do it with local partners. And with that, we'll get into our speakers. I'm so pleased to see my longtime friend and colleague, Libby Garvey here. She's the president. Chair. President sounds better.
It does, but it's not true.
All right, truth is a thing. So Madam Chair, great to see you representing Arlington County Board. Arlington County recently received $282,000 for a small watershed grant from NIFWF, that's the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and funded by us at EPA. And also, just such a tremendous partner. We work together on the Chesapeake Bay Policy Committee for COG here, and you've been doing a lot of work with local partners in Grandma's Run. So, but I won't steal your thunder, Libby. Microphone is yours. Great to see you.
Yeah, we were together on the Chesapeake Committee. How appropriate, right? You don't have to go down to the yoga class. You can just look out the window, right? I mean, I find that, even in my office, I'm always asking us to open the windows because I just want to look and see a little bit of green, a little bit of sky. Just makes me feel so much better. It's delightful to have you all here. This beautiful building, Adam described it very nicely. There are tours afterwards, so if you'd like to go, I highly recommend it. There's a slide that's fun. You might want to try that. Anyway, please take advantage of it. We are really honored to have the Environmental Protection Agency Chesapeake Bay program and lots of good folks here. And I'm going to just do the little introduction thing. First, we have Mark Rupp, Assistant, right? Deputy Administrator of US EPA. And I should tell you, my husband had most of his career with EPA, and Martha Shimkin came up and talked to me a little bit about remembering him, which means a lot to me. Thank you. And why my Martha? She's the director of the EPA Chesapeake Bay Program Office. You've all met Adam. You've all met me. Takis Karantonis, our vice chair, my vice chair. And then, of course, where I should have started in order of protocol, I hope you all don't mind too much. We have Senator Tim Kaine here, Representative Don Beyer, Representative Jerry Connolly, and Representative Abigail Spanberger. So great to have you all here. This is great. I love this kind of cooperation. We all come together to do wonderful things, and you bring us some money to do it with. It's really, really good. We also have Dr. Yana Davis, president of the Chesapeake Bay Trust, I think is here. Yana, yes. Stephanie Talon, VA Deputy Secretary of Natural and Historic Resources, who have already bent her ear on a project I'm interested in. So this is great. Thank you. And I'm just going to talk for a little bit. We got a lot of speakers. I know you didn't come to, just hear us all talk, but it is kind of a cool time. They did. Well, you, maybe, yes, but not necessarily me, but that's fine. Anyway, it's great to have everybody for this. This is really important funding for water quality improvement. And as you said, I was thinking about driving over here and it started to absolutely open up. I said, Libby, this is really good for talking about water quality. It's excellent. We're thrilled to be the recipient of the funding of the Saving Grandma's Creek project. This project's a great example of community involvement and advocacy for a beloved neighborhood stream. So residents of this Barcroft community approached the county some time ago to look at potential solutions to reduce runoff and erosion from Grandma's Creek. And here we are today. Is that great grassroots politics or what? Is anybody here who took part in that effort, maybe? All right, and I see, yes, there we go, thank you. In Arlington, we have a lot of citizen involvement. It makes us what we are today, and it really is so important, and I love it when it actually comes to fruition. And I see now, I forgot to introduce Senator Barbara Favola from the Virginia General Assembly. Is there anyone else I met? Oh, hi, Adele, how are you? It's very nice, McClure. Yes, nice to see you. Anyone else? I think, all right, if I missed anybody, let me know. This project's going to propose the installation of Green Street rain gardens. So we've got rain gardens here. We're going to do more to better manage stormwater in the neighborhood. Project partners also conduct a variety of nature-based watershed education activities, which are going to help increase awareness, and that helps increase the protection of the beloved creek here, which is part of the 4 Mile Run watershed. And there's more. The neighborhood will also organize tree planting events, stream cleanups. Eco Action Arlington and Barcroft Elementary School are partners on the grant, and they will organize educational presentations for students. Our Arlington Parks Department will host family hikes and pop-up nature events. This is a fun, happening place. I think the project really exemplifies Arlington's commitment to equity as well. We're partnering with Barcroft Elementary School, as I mentioned. That's a Title I school just across the street. And through the Arlington Partnership for Affordable Housing, we're going to be reaching out to historically underserved populations here to help them enjoy nature. And these initiatives are really also, obviously, a critical part of our stormwater management program. It's just simply actually helping us comply with regulations that we have to do anyway. As we all know, clean streams and a healthy Chesapeake Bay are important for the economic and environmental health, not only of Arlington, but of the entire region, and they're precious assets that we all need to protect. So today is really a win-win-win-win day. So thank you all so much to be here, and now I think I turn the podium back to Mark Rupp. Thank you. It's great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Chair Garvey. Madam Chair. I also really want to thank Adam Ortiz for having me speak here today. Adam, you do a phenomenal job across Region 3. The sort of attention that he brings here to the Commonwealth and to communities across Virginia is the same level of commitment he brings to the rest of the jurisdictions in Region 3. The Chesapeake Bay, you all don't need to be reminded, is truly an incredible resource, and not just for this region, but for the entire country. Thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure law, the federal government is making an incredible investment in the nation's infrastructure, including natural infrastructure, like our streams, rivers, estuaries, and coasts. Under BIL, over $50 billion has been allocated to EPA to improve our nation's drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure, and that is in no small measure to the phenomenal federal delegation you have sitting up here today. You know, EPA for a long time, our budget is so small, it got a little bit smaller, but roughly $10 billion a year. And so for us, between the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Inflation Reduction Act, there is over $100 billion flowing through our agency, and it really has been a game changer. The infrastructure financing for wastewater, water is truly the single largest investment in water that the federal government has ever made. And our Chesapeake Bay office, too, which was mentioned with Martha so ably leads, that alone was allocated $238 million over 5 years. Again, the single largest federal investment in that program. Today, we are here to announce what we're all here and very excited about, which is $96 million in BIL funding and $110 million in EPA's regular appropriations to implement 3 grant programs over the course of the next 4 years. $83 million from BIL and $110 million has been awarded to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to administer 2 particular programs. The first is a small watershed grant program, and the second is an innovative nutrient and sediment reduction grant program. The small watershed grant program funds projects within the Chesapeake Bay watershed that promote community-based efforts to protect and restore the diverse natural resources of the Chesapeake Bay and its tributary rivers and streams. The Innovative Nutrient and Sediment Reduction Program aims to accelerate the implementation of water quality improvements, specifically through collaborative and coordinated efforts of sustainable, regional-scale partnerships and networks of practitioners with a shared focus on water quality restoration and protection, which we clearly see demonstrated in this room today. $13 million of the BIL funding has been awarded to the Chesapeake Bay Trust to administer the Community Capacity Building Program. This particular program aims to increase the effectiveness of community and frontline organizations working collaboratively to protect and restore rivers and local watersheds by addressing their organizational capacity needs. Funding for the local implementation is essential, as you all recognize, to ensuring restoration success of the Chesapeake Bay. But we also want to make sure that this funding reaches historically disadvantaged communities that have not always been able to engage in such programs in the past. In 2020, it's worth noting that the Chesapeake Executive Council signed a statement of support of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. This statement recognizes that individually, each partner has established policies and programs with the goal of advancing environmental and public health protection for all. This statement also recognizes that there's more than just that needs to be done as a united partnership. And for this reason, it's necessary that the Chesapeake Bay program explicitly and tangibly commit to diversity, equity, inclusion, and environmental justice. Complementary to this, President Biden's executive order on tackling the climate challenge crisis at home and abroad announced the Justice 40 initiative. This initiative mandates that 40% of the benefits of certain federal investments must flow through disadvantaged communities. I'm proud to say that the funding announced today is going to help achieve that goal and continue the important work of the federal government and the entire Chesapeake Bay program to engage disadvantaged communities in these restoration efforts. This is better for the Bay, better for these communities. So again, I want to thank all of you for attending today. I really am so pleased to see so many of our local partners here together. And finally, again, just a final thanks to all of you for your leadership on the Hill, bringing these very important resources to bear so that everyone can participate in making the Bay better for all generations to come. Thank you.
I wanted to address something that I should have at the beginning. In a different part of our region, there was the tragic collapse of the bridge in Baltimore. So if I could ask us all just to take a moment of silence to recognize the lives that have not been recovered and support the hard work of the people working on the recovery in Baltimore. Thank you. Introducing our next speaker, and Libby did a great job, but I just wanted to add one little thing before Senator Tim Kaine comes up. So the Chesapeake Bay Partnership is a partnership, and that doesn't happen by accident. All the states get together and work together, and it's great to see you, Stephanie, and other colleagues, trying to figure things out at many different levels. And at the highest level is the executive committee, and that is where the really important people are. So the governors and the administrator of EPA, and today that chair position is held by Governor Westmore of Maryland, but for many years it was held by the governor of Virginia, Tim Kaine. And as I was walking in, Matt said, hey, make sure you say that because Senator Kaine was awesome in that job. So I want to invite you up there, Kaine.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. What a great day. I was especially glad that there was indoor parking. I mean, oh my gosh, it was perfect. It is really nice to be here, and thank you for mentioning my time as the head of the Chesapeake Bay Council with the electeds. I think that was 2006 to 2008. I loved interacting with the stakeholders from different states and the EPA to try to advance on the Chesapeake Bay. When I stepped down, they gave me an engraved paddle as a gift. And I didn't hang it on the wall, I used it. In fact, I used it so much I busted it. I canoed the whole James River a couple years back, and somewhere along the way, while going through some rapids, I jammed it on a rock and it busted. But I got 15 years of good use out of that paddle, and I really appreciated that time. It's great to be here with so many, and what I'll say about this event is first, obviously, gratitude at the announcement, the $200 million coming both from the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which we all worked so hard on, but also from the appropriations that Congress does to the EPA's Chesapeake Bay program, which we also go to bat for all the time. It's gratifying to see these dollars allocated in such sizable quantity to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and to the Trust. So much of what happens in the Bay is with local organizations that the ability of these two, the foundation and the trust, to grant to localities or other nonprofits to improve the watershed is worth celebrating. You know, what I'll say about the Bay is I want to say a word of bipartisanship and partnership. So I've got 3 members of my legislature. I've got Del McClure, delegate. I got Barbara Favola here. I saw Alfonso Lopez, who was a member of my cabinet when I was governor. Here's what I remember about being governor. I had 2 Republican houses my first 2 years and then 1 each my second 2 years. There were only 2 things that I could always count on that would be bipartisan: Chesapeake Bay and anything dealing with veterans. Everything else, you know, was going to be a bit of a struggle. And we might still find an accord, you know, I'll support your project, you support mine. But the 2 that never really required a lot of push, because they were really bipartisan, Chesapeake Bay and veterans. Veterans issues you get. I mean, Virginia's a state, 1 out of 9 Virginians is a veteran. We were deploying troops to both Iraq and Afghanistan during the years I was governor. So the support for our veterans community was never to be questioned, something we were all proud of. But the Chesapeake Bay was an interesting one. Some environmental priorities don't get bipartisan support, but the Chesapeake Bay always did. And I think that's a tribute to all who work on these issues, but it's also just a tribute to the way Virginians feel about the Chesapeake Bay, the love for the Bay. Everyone has a favorite spot. If you just, you know, Rorschach, just think in your mind, what's your favorite spot on the Chesapeake Bay? Everybody has a spot. You know, it might have been a place of family vacations. It might have been a place you like to go for a weekend. A lot of Virginians have homes near the Bay, either live there or have vacation homes. For my wife and I, it was over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. Her parents lived on the Chesapeake Bay, and virtually every holiday, Easter, Christmas, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving, we were driving down to Lancaster County and spending time on the bay. My wife's parents both passed in the last couple of years, and we don't have the same reason to go all the time, and we kind of feel a little sense of loss of that. But people have a connection to the Bay, and it is bipartisan, and I'm looking at my delegates. I'm hoping that's still the case. The Chesapeake Bay and the General Assembly, good. That's very, very good news. And then the second thing I want to say is partnership. These are not easy projects to do. I mean, if you're thinking about, like, who's represented here? Arlington, the state, the federal delegation, the EPA, neighborhood associations who worked on this particular project, the trust, the foundation. It is complicated. I did an event yesterday at McAfee Knob Trailhead out near Roanoke, and it was the city and the county and the Park Service and the Forest Service and the Roanoke Appalachian Trail Club and the Appalachian Trail Conservancy. These are not easy projects, but that's okay, because if you get everybody together, you can come up with a project that has buy-in. If you have a few people around the table, you can do a project that some like, but then others aren't so wild about. But if you do the work, and it's sometimes hard, of getting everybody around the table, you might not be able to make a decision immediately, but when you make one, it's going to have buy-in, and people are going to really be for it. So we're celebrating the grant. We're celebrating the connection that people have to the Bay, but we're also really celebrating partnerships that come together and do the hard work to decide what is the right way to preserve this resource. We all want our kids and grandkids to be able to enjoy it just like we do. I'm going to introduce Jerry Connolly, but before I do, I have a lot of staff here and a lot of interns here. They love field trips, and so do I. I'm not going to introduce them all, but I do want to say Evan McWalter's right here. Evan does the environmental policy in my office, and so whether it's community-directed expenditures or battling in infrastructure to make sure that there's funding for projects like this, Evan, who's a big outdoors person, has always been such a great advocate, and I just want to acknowledge Evan and all my staff for the work that they do. Jerry Connolly. Jerry Connolly is a spectacular member of Congress, and he is a longtime public servant. Started his public service career training to be a Mary Noel missionary, which was pretty amazing. Then decided, I'm going to go a different route and be a public servant, and then he began his public service career working as a staffer for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Cared a lot about issues in the Americas, as do I. Ran and served as a supervisor in Fairfax County, then eventually as the countywide elected chairman of the Board of Supervisors, where you had a bigger constituency than most congressional districts, didn't you, Jerry Connolly? And then has been in the House since 2006. Am I right about that? 2008. A wonderful friend, passionate advocate for the environment, did a lot of really important environmental work in Fairfax in local government, and kind of brings the local government perspective to Congress, which is some members of Congress are worrying about passing a bill. Some members of Congress are really worrying about whether a bill that's passed can be implemented in the places like Arlington or Fairfax where people live and work. And Jerry is a visionary, but he's also an implementer, and that's why I'm so proud to introduce him and call him my friend, Jerry Connolly.
We are so lucky to have Tim Kaine in the U.S. Senate. Give it up for Tim Kaine, please. He mentioned part of my background was I was a seminarian studying to be a Roman Catholic priest and a foreign missionary. He and I share that in common. And the former member of Congress, Don Byer's predecessor, Jim Moran, used to love telling audiences, Jerry was a priest and he married a nun. And I'd have to say, Jim, you make it sound like I trolled convents looking for a partner, you know. We met afterwards. At any rate, for me today, and for all of you, I think today's a sunny day. It's a great thing. And I'd like to put what we're doing in context in my remarks. And I want to give you two contexts. One is, let's remember the Chesapeake Bay is the largest estuary in the United States. And what we need to succeed here, because what we do here will have application at Puget Sound on the West Coast and the Great Lakes and other estuaries all across the United States. People are watching. We've done a really good job and spent a lot of money on agricultural runoff and wastewater treatment. We got to catch up on suburban stormwater runoff. That is a huge contributor, and we haven't spent as much time looking at that. Today we're doing it. Today we're doing it, and that is really important because, you know, suburbanization in the watershed and the sort of paving over of surfaces has a huge impact. And I'll give you one example. When we built the Silver Line, and Tim Kaine was an enormous, you know, mover and architect of that, as was I, but it had environmental implications. We were able then to replan Tyson's Corner. Tyson's is bigger than Boston, my hometown. 80% of the stormwater is untreated in Tyson's, untreated. With the new plan, redevelopment plan, because of the Silver Line, 100% of that stormwater will be treated going into the Chesapeake Bay. So that's context number one. Context number two, remember Charles Dickens' novel, The Tale of Two Cities? And he begins, it was the best of time, it was the worst of time. Well, let's transpose that to Congress. A tale of two Congresses. In the previous Congress, we passed visionary legislation that is transformative, and we're celebrating some of the results today. The largest infrastructure investment in American history in the Infrastructure Act. The largest environmental investment in American history in the Inflation Reduction Act. The largest industrial policy investment ever made in the United States in the CHIPS and Science Manufacturing Act. These are transformative bills with huge pockets of investment that are going to change the quality of life in America for the better. And we did that in the House with a majority that the current Republican majority began with this Congress. Now, Tale of Two Cities. That was the best of times. We got things done. We had an agenda and we had a vision, and we brought people together. In this Congress, same majority in the House, we have passed 34 bills. 6 of them emergency funding for the government, always at the last minute, and half of the rest post office namings. And we're 2/3 of the way through this Congress. It is the most unproductive Congress in living memory. We've spent more time fighting about who should be Speaker and who shouldn't be Speaker than passing legislation to benefit America. And it's not like we don't have issues to address. So thank God there were people who cared and had a vision and an agenda and were willing to spend political capital on what we're celebrating today. And that's the other context I want to leave you with. Agendas matter. Elected officials matter. Vision matters. For the sake of the country, thank God we had the 117th Congress and Joe Biden to sign those bills into law. Thank you for having me here today, and it now gives me great pleasure to introduce not only a member of Congress, but a PhD brainiac candidate right now, a wonderful human being who has brought grace, charm, and deep intelligence to the United States Congress, my friend, Don Beyer.
Thank you, Jerry. Good morning. I did park on the street until it started pouring rain, and then I moved into the garage. So welcome to Arlington. Last week, it was noted to be the hardest working county in America. More hours worked per person than any other one. It's also the fittest county in America. I think that's the most number of gyms divided by population. And last week also the most environmentally resilient county in America. So it's a wonderful place. And welcome to the 8th District. Jerry, welcome to the 8th District. It's wonderful to have you here. You may not know, too, that in the last Congress that Jerry was just bragging about, the one member of the U.S. House that passed the most bills that ended up on Joe Biden's desk was Jerry Connolly. Good work. And his birthday is this weekend, so once again, he will be older than I am, which I'm thrilled. I get to call him Uncle Jerry for the next 3 months. And I'm delighted to be here. Abigail, welcome to the 8th. Abigail is a national treasure, and she will be back many, many times as your governor in the years to come. It's just terrific. I'm endorsing it, that's it, not a secret. So, and I'm always thrilled to be here with my fellow Appalachian Trail hiker, Tim Kaine. He mentioned McAfee Knob. That's the picture on the Appalachian Trail Virginia license plate, and it's really the iconic AAT symbol. Tim, you know, in the trail community, the Triple Crown is hiking the whole Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail. But you are here with the creator of the Virginia Triple Crown, who has paddled the entire James River, biked the entire Skyline Drive, Blue Ridge Parkway, and hiked the entire Appalachian Trail in Virginia. And your book is out when?
Well, funny you should ask. April 9.
Jerry talked about the Infrastructure Jobs Act, which we're very proud of. I just wish that we'd done it 9 months sooner. We might have a different governor today if we had done that. But that's a different comment. Well, I'm here because I love 4 different grandmas. Grandma Creek, that we're here celebrating today, and the investment in it. I got to be part of a cleanup for this about a year or 2 ago. Picked up lots of trash, but it was really wonderful fun. My own grandma, whom we actually called Grandma, who was one of 2 women to graduate from Berkeley in 1915, and then spent 50 years with the U.S. Department of Labor and the USAID, and was my great mentor, and lived to age 98 and a half. And then Grandma Moses, who decided to start painting at age 67, and ended up being probably America's most famous folk artist, and lived to be 99 years old. And then Grandma Gatewood, who had 11 children and an abusive husband, and started hiking the Appalachian Trail. She was the first ultralight hiker at age 67. She didn't have a backpack. She had a stick with one of those hobo-type bags on it with her stuff. And she's the first woman to solo hike the Appalachian Trail, and the first woman ever to do it 3 times. And she lived to be 86. So the point here is that grandmas tend to live a really long time and do really spectacular things. So thank you for recognizing Grandma Creek here in Arlington. You've heard an awful lot about how important all this is. The small watershed grants, critically important, and the whole innovative nutrient and sediment reduction grant programs. Adam, I think, mentioned there are 40,000 farms in Pennsylvania. All of them, not all of them, many of them contributing nutrients and sediment to the thing downstream. So anything we can do to get Pennsylvania on board with Maryland, Virginia, Delaware will be critically important. I'm proud to call the Chesapeake Bay watershed my home with 18 million other people. Jerry mentioned it's the largest estuary. This may be apocryphal, but I've heard for years that we, 18 million, flush an amount of water every day equivalent to what's in the Chesapeake Bay. It's dramatic how important it is and how at risk it is. Every one of us depends on it for our health, for our drinking water, for our recreation, for food. 3,000 different types of plants, 300 fish species, 200 species of shellfish. And then a lot of what work we do is on floods and on carbon storage, and the Chesapeake Bay is essential for all of that. So thank you for doing this. I will continue to do my best with my wonderful colleagues to champion this in the House, in the General Assembly, and the County Board. We do need a new clean water rule. When the Supreme Court gutted it earlier in the last year, we're all fighting and are co-sponsoring to fix what the Supreme Court has done. We also, I'm glad the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation is here because you work with your federal side to make sure that we take care of our endangered species. Because there's a war on wolves, there's a war on grizzly bears, and my Republican colleagues, sadly, are trying to overturn one of the most successful federal legislation of all time. 99% of the species listed on the Endangered Species Act have been preserved, have been saved, but they're trying to kill it right now. And finally, thank you to the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. I love your scorecard. We're moving in the right direction, little by little. And I can leave you with one last idea. It's let's take care of those Pennsylvania farmers. It's critically important. And now, let me give you a former law enforcement official with the U.S. Postal Service, an undercover CIA agent in dangerous places like Brussels, a born Virginian, Richmond from the Holy City, a spectacular superstar who was everything in her class, now on the leadership, and a person that we hate to lose in the U.S. House, but feel very confident that Virginia's future is in her hands. Abigail Spanberger.
This feels like the appropriate time to mention to you, I was actually born in New Jersey. And in 2018, when I first won, Governor Murphy of New Jersey called and said, I heard a Jersey girl won in Virginia, so they never let you go. But I want to highlight, and I'm last in our congressional lineup, and all of the wonderful things have already been said. So I just want to say that the sincerity and the joy that we as a delegation have in working together at the federal level with our state partners and with the organizations throughout our districts is sincere and is real, because we recognize that the laws we put in place create the frameworks by which our communities can be strengthened, our economies can grow, we can plan for a better future for our children. And I serve on the Agriculture Committee, and I'm now the ranking member. I was the chair of the Conservation Subcommittee. And the ability to unite conservation priorities and the priorities of producers in Pennsylvania, in Virginia, and elsewhere is such an exciting place for us to focus our attention, to have those conversations that really stay in the realm of joy, because in fact, in most circumstances, the investments we make in conservation are investments and our priorities we can pursue that make a whole lot of people happy. And in the sphere of politics, that's a really important place to do work, and the benefits are real. And so I'm just excited that we are here today to celebrate this historic investment, because I know that these investments that we all got behind with the laws that we passed that are now coming into fruition, that will now be the ones that pave the way to restoring healthy waterways and habitats and wildlife in the Bay region, they'll go beyond just protecting the environment and the ecosystem. They're going to continue to foster economic growth. They're going to continue bolstering community resilience, and they're going to continue making Virginia just an extraordinary place to be, to thrive, and frankly, an example for the rest of the country in terms of how we can unite these priorities to the benefit of creating opportunities, strengthening our economies, and ensuring that we're protecting the wildlife, the world, and the water around us. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here to celebrate what happens when we actually get really important bills like the bipartisan infrastructure law into place to help us build a more sustainable and resilient future. And the Chesapeake Bay program is such an extraordinary example of how we can leverage the investments and utilize them on the ground, the successes that we have had and the successes we know will be ours and Virginians and the regions into the future. So now I'd like the opportunity, I'm happy to have the opportunity to introduce Dr. Yana Davis, president of the Chesapeake Bay Trust. Dr. Davis has spent her career working at the intersection of science and policy, and she currently oversees the Chesapeake Bay's Trust work on the watershed restoration, education, outreach, and innovation. And she is leading the Trust into a brighter future for all of us. Dr. Davis.
Thank you so much. The Chesapeake Bay Trust is so excited to be part of this effort. I do want to thank Regional Administrator Adam Ortiz, partnered for a long time. Assistant Deputy Administrator Roop, thank you so much for having us here. And of course, the folks that make this happen. Senator Kane, I feel like we could get you a replacement paddle, maybe even a kayak paddle also. I'm promising other people's resources, but you've certainly earned it with all of the work you've done in the Senate. And Representatives Connolly, Beyer, Dr. Beyer, soon to be, and Spanberger. I've heard you can take the girl out of Jersey, but not the Jersey out of the girl. And Chair Garvey, thank you so much for hosting us here today. So how the Chesapeake Bay Trust fits into this puzzle The trust has a unique role in the watershed. We take the people angle, so we're all people, we all do the work, so we, I think, recognize that. And there's a couple elements to this people side of the work that we think is really important. So first, at the end of the day, people do the work and build support for the work. The contractors that are out there doing this incredible work that we're looking at, well, some of us are looking at, you guys can turn around and see. Community groups who probably made this center happen, residents who call for healthy green spaces in their neighborhoods. Not everybody has this incredible green space resource in their neighborhoods, and everybody should. Federal and state governments can do a lot. Thank you so much, our elected officials. But the vast majority of the land in the watershed is privately owned, and we have to remember that. And without strong communities, strong nonprofits, strong local governments, we have a lot of local government folks in the room, we really won't be able to realize our vision of a restored watershed. But with them, we can. And so the trust role in this effort, we do a lot of things. In our day jobs, we fund K through 12 environmental education. We fund a lot of the same kinds of green streets and rain gardens. But at the end of the day, for this effort, we are so excited to be able to strengthen the ability of the groups that I just mentioned to actually do this work on the ground and really empower them to take action, because that's how the work gets done, through people. So we're going to help these groups get ready to play in the sort of larger effort and take advantage of other elements of the partnership that we're here to celebrate today to get the work done. Okay, so that's the first part of our people work. The second part of our people work goes back to what Mark said earlier. People are greatly affected by not having healthy natural resources in their neighborhoods. The science, I'm a scientist by training, so while I take great personal emotional joy out of seeing green space, let's be honest, I approach it like a scientist. So we can go back to the science and say, we know that when people do not have healthy natural green spaces in their neighborhoods, they are less healthy. It affects almost everything about our lives. We used to feel that way. I mean, there's a reason hospitals design green spaces in their courtyards for both their staff and the patients to get better. We all actually feel better looking outside, and that can be a feeling, but it's also the science. For too long, too many people and too many groups have not had access to healthy natural spaces, haven't been benefited by them, and haven't been able to play a role in their improvement. Our initiative intentionally brings people together from very diverse missions into networks who can partner together and help each other realize co-benefits of their efforts. So certainly the environmental groups are important, but it's not just the environmental groups, it's the faith-based groups, it's the human health organizations, it's the workforce development groups, it's the housing groups. These groups can all work together, identify things that they can sort of benefit by jointly, develop work plans, and then get that work done. So we're thrilled to leverage these EPA dollars to expand the work. We've started this work already. This effort will allow us to really expand it with EPA and with NIFWIF and family foundation leaders. One of the things that the trust does is aggregate resources from lots of different places and really kind of use those to leverage each other and then really empower groups on the ground. We always say that resources go through the Chesapeake Bay Trust, not to the Chesapeake Bay Trust. And we're just thrilled to bring this whole effort to new audiences, especially local governments. Really want to thank the Chesapeake Bay program, EPA program, Martha, and there's Matt and other folks from the Bay program are here. I know staff are here, so thank you so much for everything you've done to make this partnership work. And we're excited to be part of the initiative, so thank you for having us.
So as we wrap up, and Jen is so modest, Jen and I met in 2006, 2007. I was the mayor of a tiny little town in Prince George's County that flooded a lot, and we wanted to be more sustainable.
Was that Greenbelt?
Greener than Greenbelt. And there's a great site for a federal agency, but we'll get into that another time, perhaps. But our town flooded a lot. It was an environmental justice community, and we needed some help. And we worked with Jana and others to just aggressively go after grant funds, including EPA funds from Region 3. And our little staff, there were 2 people in our town hall and a handful of police officers. So it was a big deal to be able to pick up the trash and manage the community as well as compete for these big dollars. But Jan and her team worked with us as an environmental justice community to compete for funds, eventually getting up to $10 million from different funding sources to make a green street. So just a tremendous shout out to the folks behind the scenes that make things work, for communities. So thank you so much for being a friend and such a leader. Just a few things. I do want to thank the Commonwealth for letting myself and other Marylanders across the Potomac River to attend the event here today. With no incident at all across the bridge, but the Chesapeake Bay office is in Annapolis, as folks know, so I want to acknowledge everybody from the Chesapeake Bay office. Please raise your hands or stand up. Martha, thank you for your leadership, and Autumn, and everybody for the tremendous stuff that you do. Also, Ann Gillette is in the room, I believe. Ann, are you still here? Ann is here, so I want to give a shout out to Ann. So, like, almost, some of you know Ann, but often an unsung hero. Ann is a landscape architect designer that was, really a pioneer back in the day. And living in Annapolis, she literally went to car dealerships, knocking on their door, saying that they should have stormwater controls on these big parking lots. Like, what a wild thing to do. Like, she literally did that, business to business on West Street. And if you go on West Street out of Annapolis, on the way to the highway, you'll see rain gardens in almost all the car dealerships. But that was a big deal. Just unsung hero. So thank you, Ann. It's great to see you after so many years. Yesterday, as the MC, I get to talk whenever I want about whatever I want, so thank you for indulging me. But a couple of, I think, helpful anecdotes. Yesterday, as I mentioned, I was in Pennsylvania on Monday and Tuesday, and had a meeting with G.T. Thompson. Peter Marks helped make that introduction, colleague to folks here in Congress. So he's a Republican chair of the Agriculture Committee in the House. That's a big deal, and he's the first Pennsylvanian, I think, since the mid-1800s to hold that position. And we've been able to develop a good relationship, and we talked entirely about the Bay for more than an hour. The meeting ran over an hour. And our focus was on farms. How do we work with small farms? EPA has some authorities, but really our authorities only extend to 2% of the farms in Pennsylvania. So we have to find other ways to engage farmers. And I won't bore you with all the details, but he gave us a lot of great ideas, and there's a lot of willingness. And I said, well, Mr. Chairman, we're having this event in Arlington tomorrow. If you're available, we'd love to have you come by. And he said, I'm not going back inside the Beltway for as long as I can. I'm on break, I'm staying home, but please give my regards and my regrets that I can't make it, so I'm extending that on behalf of him. But I share that anecdote because Pennsylvania is beginning to step up. In the Biden administration, I got this job 2.5 years ago. My first in-person meeting was with the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau in Harrisburg. And I met with them and I said, hey folks, we got to work together, and work more closely upstream to make improvements. And so I kind of did my little spiel. There's a lot of pressure, here to move the ball forward. And the response I got from the chairman of the board, the president of the organization, he said, I agree, Adam, and we really would love to partner more. And myself, I'm a no-till farmer in western Pennsylvania, and I've been doing conservation practices on my farm for more than 30 years. And he said, we just need a little bit more help getting financial assistance or cost share assistance to small farmers in Pennsylvania. That's something that Virginia has, that's something that Maryland has, but it's something that we don't have in Pennsylvania. So we did work together with them in a bipartisan way, and the Pennsylvania legislature 2 years ago passed the first cost share program in the Commonwealth's history. It was funded at around $200 million, and as of today, $150 million of that is programmed to go to small farmers. So we are making progress together in Pennsylvania, although we do have a long way to go. A couple other shout outs. The grantees in the room, please raise your hands. Round of applause for our grantees. It's good to see you, familiar faces, but we have your back every step of the way. And if you have any concerns or questions or just some grumbling about the paperwork, Jenna Davis is here, and she's happy to provide co-pay free therapy sessions as well as guidance. But to wrap up, as others have suggested, this is a big enterprise and we all have to work together to help Mother Nature. And Mother Nature is a working mother. She's working really hard. And like a lot of mothers, she doesn't always get all the help that she needs to get the job done. But we're here to help, Mother Nature do her job. We're here to help give her a little bit of a break. And we're here, no accident on this facility, because this is a great example about how people can do great things to live in harmony with our environment. So I want to express my gratitude on behalf of EPA Region 3 and Martha and our team for everybody showing up today and working together, onward and upward. And thank you again to all of you for showing up, especially our speakers. So the yoga class is going for another 15 minutes if you want to stretch out a little bit.